selection true? Absolutely, 100% true. Many evolutionists are shocked if they learn that creationists believe natural selection is true. Is natural selection evidence that dogs have bacterial ancestors? No. No, very important. Once again, microevolution is true. Little changes, not macro. Dogs only have dog ancestors. Somebody asked you, why do you believe in intelligent design? I'll give a one-word answer. Design. Okay? So, somebody asked me that. This is what I tell them. They said, why do you believe in, why believe in design? What do you mean by design? Everybody look at the back of your hand. You'll see a vein popping out if you're lucky. I'd like to ask an atheist this polite question. How many miles of blood vessels do you think are in the human body? They might say, oh, I don't know. Well, just take a guess. They might say 2 or 3. The answer is 60,000 miles. You have 60,000 miles of blood vessels in your body. So I politely ask an atheist, what's your best explanation of how we got a piping system of 60,000 miles in our body? Is that the result of intelligent design or chance? The most likely answer I get? Well, nobody knows for sure. I didn't ask you if you knew. I asked you for your best explanation. Okay? That's what I'm asking. I design pipes as part of my job. I did a 16-mile job. It took me about 2 months and a lot of stress. 60,000 miles, I can't even comprehend the design involved in that. How many miles again? 60,000. Enough to circle the earth 2.5 times. That's a lot of piping. What's that? Mount Rushmore. Suppose I had a tour group of people from China. They didn't know anything about Mount Rushmore. And I taught them time, nature, and chance made that over billions of years. Would they believe me? No. They wouldn't know who made it, when, why, or how. But they'd have no doubt that what? Somebody smart made it. And that's what we're debating tonight. So I lose my job as a tour guide. I get a job at UC Irvine. What's this? Suppose I taught my freshman anatomy class, this is the result of millions of years of natural processes, time, beneficial mutation, natural selection, made the eye. How long would I keep my job at UC Irvine? Forever. I could be president of the university. The only thing allowed to be taught is everything came by a natural process. They're not even allowed to question it. A design is something that's planned for. That's a definition from a dictionary. Chance is something that is not planned. I hope not to get into word games, but there's some definitions. Suppose you come home, you see this on your driveway, 15 stones in that pattern. Would you think it's by design or by chance? The pattern looks like chance, but you're not certain because you weren't. Suppose you see that on your driveway. Would you guess design or chance? Looks like a design, but you've got faith. Let's say about this much faith because you were not. But I would say you got about 500 miles worth of faith to believe it happened by chance. Both sides have faith. Neither side was there. Suppose you come home, you see that. Do you need faith to believe that happened by chance or by design? Yes, because you were not. Now you got about that much faith. You've got about 600 million miles, I think, to think that happened by chance. Once again, both sides have faith. One side has more faith. The question is, regarding the stones, how complex does it have to get before you would conclude, yeah, that has to be a design? Let's talk about you real quickly. You've got 75 trillion cells. They're all in the right place. You don't have bone cells on your eyeball, hair cells in your spine. Each cell cranks out 100,000 reactions per what? I did the math for you. That's a big number. 75 followed by 17 zeros. Every second of your life, your body cranks out that much chemistry. Question, how complex does a human body have to get before you would conclude that's a design? That's plenty complex for me to admit that has to be designed. Those are little hairs in your ear. Sound travels in waves, they wiggle these little hairs. At the bottom of the hairs is a nerve. The nerve converts the movement to electrons. The electrons go to your brain. Your brain processes the electrons to produce sound. This is only one little detail in your body. That's fantastic design. I don't know how much evidence somebody would need if they were open-minded, okay? And that's my goal. Sometimes people say no real scientists believe in creation. Not true. This guy has a PhD in genetics, one of the world's leading experts in genetics. He teaches at Cornell. He believes in design. He invented the MRI machine. I'm going to go faster here. You got this handout. I would have loved to have seen this in high school. I thought if you loved science, you had to love the theory of evolution. Not true at all. Thousands of PhDs believe creation is true. This is one of my favorite slides. What do these guys have in common? They're all Major League ball players, and they've all been operated on by Dr. Louis Yoakum. I blew my knee out playing volleyball. He was my doctor. Very, very nice man. He was teaching me how the knee works. I asked him a question, and he's probably the leading expert on knees in the whole country, because every baseball team sends their players to him. I said, Dr. Yoakum, do you think the knee is the result of design, or do you think it's the result of chance? The leading expert on knees in the country politely smiled and said, that's a design. It's not even an issue to him. He's convinced it. He knows knees. So real quickly, scientific evidence for creation. The first law of thermodynamics, the universe did not appear from nothing. The second law of thermodynamics, the universe is dying, it's finite and decaying. The law of biogenesis, life comes from life. Design, 60,000 miles of blood vessels is enough for me. Genetics, biochemistry, zoology, that means people make people, apes make apes. And real quickly, questions for Phil. How did the universe originate? What's your best explanation? How did life originate? What is your best explanation? Do you really think 60,000 miles of blood vessels is the result of chance or design? And do you think humans have bacterial ancestors? Okay, thank you. Sorry I went over.
Is this working? Yes, sir. Okay. Hello, my name is Summerfeld. I'd just like to say thank you to everyone for showing up. Thank you for inviting me here, Bill. Thank you, Pastor Brad, everyone who helps get involved in this. I appreciate it very much. I'd just like to say at the outset that I will try to make this as entertaining, as informational as possible. This is my first debate. It's really my first public speaking appearance ever. So I unfortunately can't be as polished and smooth as Bill, but I'll attempt to make it informative. Just a quick background on myself. Like Joel said earlier, I'm 24, I'm a college student, currently majoring in mathematics. I grew up as a Christian, went to church regularly until the age of 10 or 11 roughly, after which we stopped attending church, however, all collectively espoused to believe in God. But it played less and less a part in our lives as we got older, and by the time I was 23, I felt the most apt way to describe myself would be as an atheist, and not just simply, like Bill said, someone without belief in a higher power. One thing I wanted to point out before I get started is I just wanted to mention that most of the things that Bill talked about don't count as evidence for creationism. Most of what he discussed falls under the two categories. Either he can't believe how it could have occurred naturally, or it's way too complex, therefore he, quote, sees design in it. These don't count as arguments for creation for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, you can't test it. There's no way to falsify those claims, because you can't test what a creator would do. As an autonomous figure, he can do whatever he wants. So however he decides to create the universe, the earth, the planets, whatever he decides to do, you can't test for that. That's just something I wanted to point out at the beginning, is that most of the slides he discussed fall under those categories, not evidence for creationism. That's a conclusion he makes because he doesn't buy into the evolutionary theories or hypotheses. So real quickly about science itself, like I said, the big thing that's lacking in the creationist model is experimentation, falsification. He makes observations. He's very intelligent. He sees all this complexity in the cells and in life in general, and he makes these observations and concludes without testing anything, without testing to falsify his hypothesis. He concludes that a creator must have been responsible for it. But unfortunately, science, in order to progress, you need to be able to falsify your claim. You need to be able to say this was wrong, therefore we can discard it and converge on the truth. If you leave creation on the table, it can